What's new in the world of Bill and Diana Lee?
We've just been on the road playing ball. Just seem to be dodging bullets here and there and just trying to stay out of trouble. We've been getting really good flights and good weather.
What states have you been going to?
Oh, I've been to Florida since I saw you last. Been to Florida, played ball, did the fantasy camp. Came to California, spent a week here, flew back to Maine, did an event back there, sold a few lots over on Sunday River.
How about your left hand? Can you hold it up?
Oh, this, yeah. It was a very auspicious moment in Homeland Security when they forced us at gunpoint to get married on December 19th.
They? Who's they?
Homeland Security. Border guards took exception to the fine Canadian talent that I was hanging out with. Said, why don't you hang out with an American?
Oh.
And I said, they don't really seem to be hospitable, accommodating, and they don't seem to float my boat. So I decided, they said, well, you've got to get this talent and take it back to Canada. So I went back and called a few senators, a few Homeland Security people.
Which senator?
I called Connie Mack in Florida, a Republican. I called a Democrat in the state of Massachusetts named Kennedy.
Oh.
I called another Democrat in my hometown, and I called a Republican. Actually, he was an independent, and named Bernie Sanders.
I know him.
Bernie Sanders used to be the old mayor of actually, I think he ran as a socialist in the town of Burlington, Vermont. He parlayed it into a populist candidacy for the House of Representatives, which he held for maybe 8 terms, and then he took over the seat that was vacated by Jeffers in the state of Vermont. And now he is the only independent, I think, senator in the United States. Really?
They were independent.
You never know, but...
Okay, but you're wearing a Boston Red Sox hat.
Yes.
And it's
because it's the father-son hat. It's it was the 2007 championship in Phoenix, Arizona, where we got to the semifinal rounds and was beaten with 16 teams. So we were probably number 3 or 4 in the nation this year. We were the last 2 times we were there, we were beaten in the final game. This year and my boy Andy, I had to put him on a plane flying back. He had a game at LSU, and he was our horse.
Okay.
We rode him hard.
Now, this interview is primarily for the upcoming game, Baseball Mogul 2009.
Yes.
So in the game, you build baseball teams who are competitive. If you're a general manager, what are some of the key criteria in building a winning team?
You have to have strong pitching, and I believe good defense, and hitting is a thing of desire, and timely hitting is what you look for. You look for players that are pretty clutch, that can hit. I like veteran hitters. I like my pitching staff to not have a lot of walks. I don't like to have extra guys put on base. I like to have them throw sinkers with an occasional hard thrower.
What's a sinker look like?
A sinker is a pitcher like a Maddox.
Okay.
Like Lavin, someone that makes the ball be hit on the ground a lot, and that way you can have good defense behind you.
Okay.
Not the guys that are wild and give up a lot of gappers and long fly balls and home runs. Then you have to have that occasional hard thrower that can come in after there, and your Papelbon, someone that can come in, the Gagne during his prime, that can close. I have to have a little short, fat left-hander that can turn the ball over in there too.
So the team that you're describing, would they do well in the National League or the American League? Or is
they do well in any league, but they'd probably be better in the National League because I want my pitchers to be athletes, guys that can hit, swing the bat, and stay in the game a little longer and take the stress off my bullpen, because your bullpen pitchers are usually guys that can't get anybody out.
Okay.
That's why they're in the bullpen. So I always like to build my team around by starting pitching, my defense, and strength up the middle. Good catcher, quick release, blocks the ball, guy that can hit in the clutch, kind of like Thurman Munson used to, and Campanella, guys that I always admired growing up. Even though I played against Munson, I still respected him. The guys I like, center field, Freddie Lynn. You know, I like guys that are graceful, smart, hit well, and have accurate arms. I build my outfield around guys like Ichiro. Ichiro would be my leadoff hitter.
Okay.
And, you know, Freddie Lynn would be my number 3.
When you have an American League team versus a National League team.
Yeah, that's a designated hitter.
Does that change the whole gameplay balance and the sport's
Yeah,
no longer?
pitching, you're going to give up more runs.
Right.
Because your pitchers have to face one more hitter, unless it's a good National League team. I mean, if you had Johnny Padres and Don Drysdale, and guys that could swing the bat as your pitchers,
And
you
Bill
have
Lee.
nine hitters. Gary Peters, Bill Lee, you know, Greg Maddux, Tom Glavine can swing the bat a little bit, Dontrell Willis, but he's erratic as a pitcher. He's very unpredictable, and he's got to get his act together to throw more strikes to make my ball.
Has the designated hitter ruined the World Series? More often than not, an American League team will now win.
Yes, and that's because of not so much that, it's just that their pitching in the National League is not as good as pitching in the American League, because the American League pitcher has to face more hitters. So the pitching seems to be better in the American League now than the National League. You can get by with less pitching in the National League because you don't have to face that many hitters. And I believe the money's being spent and generated more in the American League because of the fact that the Yankees and the Red Sox have unlimited pocketbooks.
Right.
And everybody's got to spend more money to compete in the American League. And I think that is a major factor in the dominance of the American League. Not so much the designated hitter.
Okay.
You know, I think that's a consequence of it. But in the old days, when the designated hitter first came into the league, the National League still dominated because they had better pitchers.
Okay.
And it all boils down to pitching, I think.
Which league is the Carnivore League now?
The Carnivore League?
Right. In your book, you mentioned Pete Rose was a carnivore.
Yeah. Well, the whole Cincinnati club, I would say, good question. The American League eats better because I think they have bigger pocketbooks.
Okay.
So they're the ones that are eating better right now, and it's proven in the statistic. Who wins the World All-Star game gets to have that 7th game, which tends to be a very big thing. Doesn't seem to be with the Red Sox.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do.
The All-Star game should determine the World Series?
Yeah, I think the All-Star game should, because it makes the game important that the manager will go out and try to win that ball game.
Okay.
In the old days, it used to be a showcase, and the National League dominated for a long time. Now the American League seems to be dominating, and all boils down to pitching. Yogi Berra said, good pitching gets out good hitting and vice versa.
Vice versa. Okay, what makes a strong general manager versus a weak general manager? What ingredients do they need to have?
A strong general manager has to have a basic foundation. He has to be a baseball man.
Right.
And then he has to have an owner that will give him a free rein and allow him to do things. And also to develop a good farm system. I believe Minnesota doesn't have the pocketbooks and everything, but they have good coaching and they develop good farm system and they develop good ball players. A team like San Francisco used to be a good organization, but now their minor leagues have fallen apart and now they can't. So the general manager here is, I thought, let the ball drop considerably. And the Red Sox are a really good minor league system now. The Yankees have fallen down because they've gotten old and they got top-heavy. They paid too much money to the top and not developed the bottom.
So they're no longer the team to beat?
I don't think they're the team to beat, not for a while.
Who is?
I think the Red Sox are dominant minor league systems, and with the unlimited pocketbook that John Henry provides, they can go out and fill holes anytime they want. They went out and got Gagne just as a backup to Papelbon, because Papelbon had a tough last part of the season in 2006.
And Gagne's gone.
Gagne went to the National League. He's with the Brewers, which used to be
An
the American League, and used to be the Seattle Pilots. Go figure.
Who owned the Seattle Pilots?
That's a great question.
Is it Bud Selig?
No, Bud Selig only came into the picture in Milwaukee.
Okay.
And he would not have been in Seattle. That's a great question. Who owned the Seattle franchise before the new owners of the Seattle franchise is Nintendo.
That's right.
So they're a
They're powerhouse.
They're powerhouse. Nintendo,
So you've worked for a number of general managers, and I'll start with the ones in Boston. Manager Dick O'Connell. Was he good? Was he not good?
He was very good. He was a typical old Bostonian, tight-fisted, and had Neil Mahoney and Ed Kinney under him that developed scouting and new ball players. They were great. And then I go to Montreal,
right,
and they had this French guy, I can't think of his name, but he was from New Orleans, and he got Gary Carter, Parrish, Dawson, Cromartie, Raines. He brought up the whole minor league. His son was actually on the ball club as a catcher.
You think?
Cajun. We're going to have to find that
I
name.
will find that name. You think Andre Dawson and Tim Raines will go in the Hall of Fame?
They're both capable of it. Raines, has amazing statistics, but he had those years where he wasn't that good, and then he got better. He was a switch hitter with power, stolen base threat. Dawson's statistics are better than a lot of guys in the Hall of Fame, and he should be in the Hall of Fame.
What team do you think he'd go in as? Cub,
He wouldn't go in as a Montreal Expo, I'm afraid. He'd probably go in a Chicago Cub. Played well with them.
Chris Carter was screaming and yelling, I don't want to go in as an Expo.
Yeah, Gary Carter.
I don't want to go in.
Yeah, he's not my Expo. He talks a good game when he's up there.
But they forced him.
He wanted to be a Met. He wanted to go in National League. He
Okay.
politics well.
Let's talk about Haywood Sullivan, former player turned GM. He was your GM in 1978. What was that like?
He only knew one thing about pitching. It was hard to hit. He's a lifetime 220 hitter, I think. Never really had much respect for pitchers
Right.
and anybody from California. He was a Southerner from Montgomery, and he's wasn't that good. He was the assistant GM, and he was the vice president, and he was Mrs. Jockey's go for it. Mrs. Jockey said, go for this, go for that, he would do it. And then Mr. Yockey died. And when he died, then Dick O'Connell was summarily dismissed, and Buddy LaRue and Haywood Sullivan put together a package to buy the ball club, and they kind of matriculated up. And the club fell on hard times. I mean, they still knew baseball, and they still had a good team in '86. They went out and got Roger Clemens, and they got some Bruce Hurst. They had a great team in '86.
They had Bill Buckner.
They had Billy Buckner, I was going to say. He had a tremendous year, and he just wore down. His ankle wore down, and Buckner was always, at the end of the season, he was just done for.
Okay, since you know more than I do, some people say that even if Bill Buckner caught that ground ball, there's no way he would have made it to the bag before Mookie.
He would never have made it before Mookie. You're exactly right. If he had caught that ball, he would have had to throw it to Stanley, and I think Stanley broke late. I think Mookie would have broke, but the ball wouldn't have gone through his legs and the run wouldn't have scored.
Oh, true.
That would have been a tie ball game if he catches the ball.
Okay, moving over to Montreal, did you have a chance to work with Expos GM Charlie Fox?
No. Charlie Fox was, he was an assistant to an assistant then, and after he got into the fight with Spire and a lot of things, he was kind of a pugilistic, typical middle infielder type that just liked to fight, hated pitching and stuff, and I don't think he really had that much say-so.
So which GMs were you with? John McHale?
John McHale was the GM when I was there. He was vice president and general manager, and you had Jim Fanning as his assistant.
Right.
But you had a lot of guys that were in the organization before. Basically, that organization was the old, not Brewer, Atlanta Braves. They were guys that came out of the Braves organization. Now they're the Colorado Rockies.
Right.
Gebhardt and all those guys. And I believe that where he came from, that's a good question. I think they were in the Milwaukee organization.
Unfortunately, he hurt you, right? John McHale?
John McHale hurt me in the fact that I used to wear his shoes, and they didn't fit quite properly, and I wore his shoes the day that I climbed the outside of that building, and I broke the brick.
Oh.
That caused me to fall out of the second-story window.
Oh,
So,
man.
that was my punishment for wearing his shoes then.
Being thrown out a window.
Yeah, I ended up falling out of the second-story balcony, actually.
Okay, quickly, who are, in your opinion, are we still good?
Oh, we're still good.
Who are some of the best general managers ever? I mean, I could throw out names.
Well, I think in our day and age, the kid from Atlanta, the Sherholtz guy, has put them in a position to win every year. He's become a great general manager, and he'll go down in history as probably one of the great general managers.
Who's the long-time Dodgers owner?
You had the O'Malley family,
Yeah.
and then you had Campanis. The thing about the Dodgers were from Brooklyn, and everybody was a New York fan, and they had an amazing bird dogging system that was started by Branch Rickey. If any talent was in the area, the Dodgers they got to know about them first.
Okay.
And that was one thing. They had an amazing scouting system, and it went all the way out to L.A., and they maintained it. The thing about them is they got arrogant, and Campanis got cocky, and then he went down, and when he went down, that whole organization, I believe, was never as good as it used to be. And Lasorda talks a good ball game, but he's one of them baby kissers and stuff, and I never liked it. Never liked it. I mean, even though he liked me a lot.
Right.
And he was the guy who told my father I'd make it to the big leagues. Where Campanis said I'd never play in the big leagues.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Ah, you showed him.
Showed him, showed his son, showed his grandson. All three of them.
All three of them were against you.
Yeah, I pitched against the son and the grandson. And I got them out, and I proved old Al Campanis wrong.
That's good. Is it a mistake to build your team around the long ball?
Yes. I believe it's terribly a mistake because the problem is with the long ball is sometimes it doesn't come and you don't know how to generate any other way of making runs.
Right.
I like pitching, defense, and steady hitting, and you got to have a few guys that are thumpers that put the fear of God into the other pitching staff. But when we had the long balls and hit all those home runs, we didn't make it. We collapsed in '78, and it was pitching and defense and the fatigue factor of our ball club the last month of the season, which hurt us. We had a 14-game lead on the Yankees and lost it, and that was Haywood Sullivan, Don Zimmer debacle.
What could they have done differently?
They could have let me pitch.
Yeah.
Don't take me out of the rotation. I go to Montreal. See, in Boston, I was 10-6, lost 4 games in a row. I ended up 10-10. I was taken out of the rotation.
Right.
The next year, I go to Montreal. I am 10-6. I lose 4 tough games for the Expos. I'm 10-10. Dick Williams leaves me in the rotation, and I win my last 6 ball games. End up 16-10.
How was the competition level between the two?
Both leagues.
In both leagues at the time.
Oh, I thought the National League was just as difficult as the American League. You had to be in better shape because you had to swing the bat. You had to do a lot of different things. The American League with a designated hitter was easy.
Right.
But I was getting lazy in Boston. It was a good reason to move me on too. But I wanted to play, the '78 season. Heck, we could have won it in '73, '72. If they pitched me more in '72, we beat Detroit.
Right.
In '74, I never got that money. I got injured at the end of the year. They didn't bring up a guy named Lynn and Rice. They brought him up, but they didn't let him play. If they let him play, we maybe win in '74. We win in '75. If we don't have the brawl and Fergie Jenkins doesn't tear his Achilles tendon, we may win it in '76. We were close in '77. If he pitches me, we win it in '78. We could have been a dynasty, I believe, if we'd had a little better management. And
this is in hindsight, but at the time, did you guys feel that you could have been a dynasty?
oh yeah,
So that
I
must have
thought
been,
we would do Stremski and Freddie Lynn, Jim Rice, Evans, Carlton Fisk, Cecil Cooper, Juan Benitez. We had guys on the bench that were tremendous stars for other ball clubs.
so how'd that circulate in the locker room, knowing that you guys could be winners and someone's decisions holding you down?
Well, ball players are not that bright because they knew that was happening.
Okay. Right.
I don't think they're the last ones to know. Ball players are like canaries in mine shafts. You just used to carry them. The miners used to carry them down in case they got a whiff of poison. They would die, and that'd allow the miners to get out.
All right. Well, speaking about things that happened backstage, off the field, you were nearly an Atlanta Brave and a San Diego Padre.
Yeah. Well, I applied for both positions to be denied, not by Sherholtz, but by Fat Jack McKeon.
Right.
No, actually, it was Jack McKeon and Ballard Smith wouldn't let me be a Padre, and Henry Aaron wouldn't let me be give me a tryout.
But with the Padre, you think they forgive and forget?
Well, it was great pride, and the fact that I was on the cover of High Times, no way I was going to be playing for Ray Kroc and the McDonald's Corporation.
Right.
You know, they had enough heads on there. Funny thing is, 3 of the members of that ball club ended up dying.
Oh.
Yeah, you had your shortstop ended up dying of AIDS or drug-related. You had the one guy ended up killing himself, Eric Shaw, on the mound, and Trevecki's arm fell off. So
And they traded Ozzie Smith.
they traded Ozzie Smith. You're exactly right. You know,
Unforgivable.
That was Ballard Smith. He Fat Jack McKeon. You know, and that was the Padres. They ran them in. Dick Williams tried his best to get me, but he said, "Sorry, Bill, they aren't even going to let you have a tryout on the field." So then I thought I was going to get a chance with Atlanta the same year, and they never called back.
But while you were with the Expos, the Braves try to talk to you under the table, like secretly.
Yeah, they tried to. They weren't allowed to tamper. They took me out on Lake Lanier, and the Coca-Cola Corporation and Ford, I think, they offered me $3 million to go with Atlanta the following year as a free agent. And then my loyalties lied to the Expo organization in the town of Montreal that embraced me and loved me. And I was not going to leave them for hell or high water for more money.
Right.
So all I asked John McHale was to give me a free estimate about what my ability would be worth on the free agency market. And he said, "You'd be worth this much," and I agreed.
Okay.
And he ended up screwing me out of $2 million.
Ooh.
You know, because I found out I was worth more, but I said, it's only money in that, you know.
You're not starving today, are you?
Oh, heck no.
All
Look
right.
at this. I ain't starving. That's just me. I wish I was starving sometimes, but you tend to, if I made that $3 million with the Expos, though, I'd probably be dead today, you know. I would have partied way too hard.
Especially in Montreal.
Oh, my God. Yeah, I would. Yeah.
They had a bronze statue on Crescent Street.
I've been frozen, you're right.
Yeah.
There's Bill Lee. Is he stoned or is he Memorex?
What was your opinion of Charles Bronfman?
I like Charles Bronfman. I thought he was busy doing a whole lot of other things, and you know, he was trying to make money, and he's just a Bronfman. You know, he had his fingers in a lot of different pies, and he had Seagrams, so he had all the liquor, and his sons were involved in sports, and you know, he didn't, you know, he was just busy, and he didn't realize that when the guys were away, the free agency and everything, and he thought they were biting his own hand, and then Gary Carter asked for more money when he sold the ball club and gave it to Dan Duquette. Not Dan Duquette, the other guy.
Yeah, French-Canadian
French-Canadian guy that took the money and he took all the luxury money and put it in his own pocket. And that's why the Major League Baseball took the ball club away from him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was the main reason. He was taking that luxury money and
Putting
not
it on his
reinvesting
house.
in the ball club. And that's why they got mad at the
Brochu?
Expos. Claude Brochu, very good. It was Claude Brochu, I believe, that ran that club basically in the ground.
Oh, my goodness. All right, let's talk about the brawl that changed it all for you.
Well, it endeared me to the Red Sox fans that it was against the Yankees, and it kind of, it's before any big series on Fox, they always show the brawl,
Right.
and it kind of tunes up the itinerant Red Sox fans from the Southie and Somerville and everything else, and gives them the chant, "Yankees suck, Yankees suck,"
Right.
and it's kind of I'm the straw that stirs the rivalry now. So.
But did that injury change your whole career?
Yeah, I lost my fastball. I had to really use guile and a lot of perseverance to get by, and it made me not a prospect anymore, but a suspect. And the fact that I couldn't throw hard when I needed to really hurt me, and it hastened my demise, and thereby. But then I got healthy. Basically, I learned how to pitch with a bad arm, and I got by with my brains and my chutzpah. And the fans, I endeared myself, that little slow breaking stuff and everything like that.
Satchel Paige hurt his shoulder, and then miraculously you got better too.
Wow. Well, I got better through surgery. Larry Coughlin and 2 titanium bolts pulled me back together, and 18 months of very good rehab and dedication got me back to where I am today. You know, a guy sent me a really nice letter and wanted to know how close I was on the Satchel Paige's record, and I said, I don't know how many wins he actually had, but I wrote it down, and I'm around 600-700 wins, you know, and I don't know how many he won in his lifetime, but that's all forms of ball, from Little League all the way up to pitching for Spy Hill, Saskatchewan, and pitching for the Longueuil Senators, the Moncton Mets, and for Philly's Traveling All-Stars. And I don't know how many I've got, but I'm going to keep playing. I'm pitching in San Quentin in April.
Oh.
And I know I'll be getting out and they won't. So, but they beat me this year already. I haven't never beaten San Quentin. I pitched against them 3 times. They beat me twice.
Ooh.
Or I pitched against them twice. They beat me twice. So I'm looking forward to getting a good team behind me.
Okay, I'm going to briefly touch on this because it's 2008, an election year. In 1988, you ran for president. What were some of the circumstances that led up to that?
A guy named McKenzie with the Rhino Party, who was a draft dodger, ended up marrying a French-Canadian girl and living in Montreal. And he became a big member of the Rhinoceros Party up in Montreal. And he said that I should run for president because every time the U.S. Sneezes, Canada catches a cold.
Oh.
So it was started by the Jacques Ferron and the University of Montreal. So it was a bona fide attempt to bring me down and to sponsor me for president. But I had a bunch of Vietnam veterans. I didn't have a really good campaign manager.
Right.
You know, he was
But
off the wall.
unless you spend $100 million, can anyone run for president?
No.
No?
I'm thinking of running in 2008, but I'm going to wait till the end after they've already exhausted themselves. And I believe that all the candidates will end up burning up. They'll all get laryngitis and won't be able to debate anymore.
Well, the Democrats look like they'll burn up.
Well, I'd like to stand out in front of the camera with a nice plaid jacket and
A toque?
a toque maybe, or just a nice fine felt hat with my my Browning semi-automatic shotgun and one hand in my back pocket, and said I'm the only honest politician. In fact, I'm the only one with his hands in his own pocket. And hopefully I'm a pragmatist. I believe I can win it just by, I'm not going to promise anybody anything, and I can solve all the problems. I know that.
When Hunter S. Thompson was your running mate, was that just on paper or did you actually meet him?
Just on paper. It was done by, they asked me who would make the best vice president, and I said the man who knows most about vice in the United States is Hunter S. Thompson. And I said he would be a great vice president. And George Kimball, a good friend of mine for the Herald, was good friends with him in Woody Creek and was going to put us in touch, but it never came about. And we had a lot of mutual friends that never really got us together. And we both had the same literary and kind of same bent. He was a staunch conservative to the point that he realized that people that profess conservatism is not really, they're not conservative.
Oh.
You know, there's a lot of people out there that profess it, like Bush and everything, but they're not conservative.
Your friend saved Bush's life, is that true?
Which friend?
friend in 1970s found a down-and-out hitchhiker who wanted to shoot himself?
Oh, that's right. When he was a down and out, he just said he dropped out. He hadn't gotten to Harvard Business School. He was despondent. And Garrison Keillor picked him up on the side of the road and was heading south and ended up driving to Austin, Texas, and the rest is history. Yeah, it's a good story.
That is a good story.
Yeah.
And now years later, Hillary versus Barack Obama.
Yeah. You know, Barack's got her. There's no way Hillary's going to get out of this. He's got her in the Kowalski pretzel hold.
Well, Killer Kowalski.
Killer Kowalski's pretzel hold, and she's an insider, and he's painted her as that, and the fact that that's the problem in our society. And Barack Obama he's got him going, and he's probably gonna win it all. I don't think McCain's got too many closets or people in his closet, and he's a little too old. I think that may be against him in the long run. And I wouldn't mind Barack Obama. I'd like to see if he could survive one tour of duty, because he's going to have a lot of people shooting at it.
No.
You got
No speeches from
Klan.
Yeah.
Those three guys.
Yeah. No waving from the convertible.
No, there won't be a whole lot of waving in the South from the convertible and stuff. And, I know when he went through Dallas the other day, they didn't check the guns when coming into the arena.
But let's go to something eternal. The Baseball Shrine of Eternals in 2000 inducted you into their Hall of Fame.
Yes.
How do they differ from the conventional Hall of Fame?
They're more literary. They're people that love the game and had a uniqueness in the game that brought history and legend. And, Bill Beck, myself, Satchel Paige, guys that really contributed not so much on the field, but off the field.
So how did the
I think Marvin Miller's in it, and he's not in the Big League Hall of Fame because he was a labor organizer, and even though he contributed more to players' salaries and to the I think the good quality of the game of baseball, he has not been accepted by the owners or the writers.
So how did they quantify your contributions to baseball?
I think that I was always like Marvin Miller, I was always a spokesperson for the downtrodden, the weak. I was, like John Miller said, I was the only white guy allowed on the back of the bus. I kind of crossed all racial lines, all economic lines. I believe I was like Jiminy Cricket. I was the conscience of baseball and didn't let anything, detract from the quality of the game on the field, and didn't put up with a lot of BS. And I think that's what endeared me to the fans, endeared me to the Reliquary, Hall of Fame. The fact that I spoke my mind, and I would suffer the consequences of the slings and arrows of outrageous misfortune.
Who would you like to see in there that's not in there at the moment?
In the Reliquary?
Right.
Annabelle Lee. My aunt. I think they put a few women in there. I believe there's a lot of people that I haven't even met yet that had the best interest of baseball at heart.
Okay.
And W.B. Kinsella, the writer who had that the dream that brought a lot of great lore to the game. Trying to think. I think Mike Beck ought to be in there eventually too. He's followed in his father's footsteps probably very admirably, with Disco Night and a lot of guys that probably haven't even been qualified. I haven't seen the list and stuff. Yogi Berra's got to be in it. I mean, he's just insane.
Okay, so moving from baseball on the field, you communicated through your book, Have Love Will Travel. Remember that?
Oh. Yeah, Have Love Will Travel.
So that was out in 2005. So this covers your immediate departure from the Expos.
Yeah, starts after The Wrong Stuff.
And the opening chapters are kind of disturbing, kind of scary for an individual.
Oh yeah, because I had a lot of free time. I had a lot of disposable cash, and I had a Venezuelan drug dealer living in my basement. Those combination of those three factors are going to make a big party, you know.
Right.
We had toga parties at my place, and all the linen would be gone. You know, I only had a futon bed and a keg, you know, as furniture. You know, so I had a halfway house. It was halfway up Grosvenor Street.
Wow.
We had tons of parties there, and hey, we had, once the Expos released me in '82, they were still paying me. You know, Gustavo wasn't going away, and I think that everybody liked it. I mean, the police liked me, the fire department. I did a lot of fundraisers. I did a lot of charity events. You know, but I was partying pretty hard. But, you know, I was still playing ball. The thing about it was that I always looked forward to my next game in Longueuil or for Monsieur Jeannot.
Right.
I was playing in softball tournaments for big money. You know, I was paying for $25,000 on a weekend,
Wow.
you know, against the top athletes in Quebec. And I enjoyed that competition. And I became a pretty good fast pitch ball player. I wasn't a pitcher,
Right.
but I could play first base. I had quick hands, and I got to be about a 250 hitter with a little bit of power, and that was good in fast pitch. And I enjoyed it. And then I went on, and hell, I just went to Moncton after that.
So, what is the Tour de Hockey Legends, and how does a baseball player fit into a Tour of Hockey Legends?
Well, after I was playing in Moncton, and Eddie Feiner used to tour, and then they had a Hockey Legends tour that toured in the winter and played. And Mark Vedreau and Associates had an office, and they approached me to do softball with the hockey players all across eastern Canada. And it was a pretty good success. We didn't play well, and Mark Vedreau was like the Abe Saperstein of Quebec, and he wanted to win. So he brought me in and said, how do we make it better? And I said, well, why don't you bring ball players in? So the Expo players started traveling around. And then, heck, for 10 years, we went all across Western Canada, and we signed on. They signed on with Great Western Entertainment out of Calgary, and I ended up playing all across. I mean, I played in Flim Flam, I played in Thompson, I played in Mount Laurier, I played everywhere, and Prince Albert, I played all the way up to Hay River in Alberta, High River, I played everywhere, and if I hadn't done that, I would have never met Diana. So it was actually just the way I've always lived my life. I always like to play, I like to perform, and the Hockey Legends kind of morphed into the Baseball Legends, and it brought me around. I mean, I've hit more home runs, I've won more games than any Canadian in every province, in hardball, softball, everything. I hit 6 home runs in one game in Kelowna, which will never be beaten, I don't think, because it's hard to get up 6 times in a ball game.
Sure.
And I'll always remember that ball game.
You played with Bobby Hall, the Golden Jet.
Yeah, I played with him up on the Bay Saint Laurent, up on the Flux de Saint Laurent out of, I think we were Baie-Comeau.
Okay.
Yeah, we were up that way on the Bay Saint Laurent. So I played all over with a lot of guys. I played with Mahavlich. Mahavlich and I are still close friends. Bobby Hull and I are still close friends.
That's cool.
You know, I played with the French Connection. I played with Gaston Gingras. I played with Eddie Shack, you know, through the track.
Now, weather plays a big part in baseball. I don't mean just rain. You play in the Northeast, it's cold.
Yeah.
But you play in South America. How does the humidity and the warm weather affect the game?
It really eats you up. You got to take care of yourself down there, and if you drink a little bit and stuff, it'll really eat you up. You got to be young. I found out as I got older I could not handle the heat in South America, and I didn't play well my last stint down there in '84.
Okay.
And but you know, I got in good shape at the end of the season. I was throwing well, and I come back, tried to play in the big leagues, didn't do it. Went to Moncton and probably had my greatest year. I was 9-0 with an 0.51 ERA for Moncton, and I led Moncton to the provincial championship. I ended up breaking my ankle in the first game and came back on a broken ankle and threw the last 4 innings of the game 7 to win the championship, beating Marysville.
Did you curse after every pitch?
I didn't. I had 4,800 milligrams of ibuprofen in me, and you could have chopped off one of my arms with a meat cleaver, and I wouldn't even felt it. And everybody says one of the great performances they ever saw, but you know, if you've got enough tolerance and can do enough drugs, you know, you can pitch without your head.
All right. I'm going to go into the coveted and misunderstood lefties. Here, of the world, Joan of Arc, Michelangelo, Benjamin Franklin, Mark Twain, Paul McCartney, and Jimi Hendrix are all left-handed people.
Yes.
It's good company.
Thank you very much.
Okay, now we've discussed in the past being a left-hander in baseball and life, but we never talked about the pros and cons of being a left-handed pitcher in Major League Baseball. What are some of the advantages that you as a left-handed pitcher would have on the big league stage?
I can hold the runner at first a lot closer.
Okay.
And if you got a good move, it takes stealing out of the equation. You have a lot of right-handed hitters, and if they hit a lot of ground balls between short and third, you don't get the runner advancing all the way to third base. So you got runners at first and second, keeps the force in order. I think those are good things, and I think those little teeny things, if you can throw strikes and get ground ball double plays, you can give up more walks, more hits, but you don't give up a lot of runs. And I think in the long run that helps you out.
What are some of the challenges that you have that the right-handers wouldn't? It's like you're left-handed, most of the batters are right-handed.
That's to my advantage. Because I'm pitching in the northern hemisphere and the Coriolis effect. So I'm always pitching into a south or a western wind, which creates drag on a sinker, which makes it drop low and away. And I believe that Coriolis effect allows left-handers to be dominant in the northern hemisphere. I always knew the closer I got to the equator, I got the shit kicked out of me.
How about facing a left-handed hitter then?
Left-handed hitters don't see left-handers that much, so they were susceptible to the breaking ball. So I could jam them with the hard sinker in, and they would give on the breaking ball and hit weak fly balls to left field or center field. And I got left-handers out, I got right-handers out equally as well. And I think left-handers that learn how to pitch, keep the ball in the ballpark, and don't walk anybody, like Jamie Moyer, me, Glavin, Mike Cuellar. You know, they're not hard throwers, but we won a lot of ball games because, I mean,
are you ambidextrous?
Not really. I golf right-handed,
okay,
and I play hockey right-handed, and I can kick right-footed. I'm pretty good.
Okay.
Ambidextrous, but not
ambidextrous. That's right. The feet.
Yeah.
Have there ever been any left-handed GMs? And if so, do they make better general managers? Because they think on the...
I don't know. I believe if you looked it up, and some, I bet Branch Rickey may have been. I don't know. I believe left-handers are generally more spatially related, see things, but they have a hard time relating to the right-handed world because we're a little bit different.
Right.
But I don't see why we wouldn't make good general managers.
Can a lefty master some pitches better than a right-hander just because it's on the left hand?
No, I believe it should not be any different in mastering pitches. I just think because of the Coriolis effect that your ball will sink a lot more than a right-handed ball will sink.
Okay.
You know, and the way the shape of the field is, you know, we're always a southpaw, so our arm is always pointing to the south side of our face.
All right.
So you're usually throwing into a west wind, and it pushes everything away. And you just got to be smarter, I think, to get by. And I don't think left or right really has that much advantage other than what I said about holding a runner on first.
Most rotations only have one left-handed pitcher. Is that a mistake?
Yeah, I think you should have two left-handers in your rotation, a hard throwing and a soft throwing, and a hard throwing and a soft throwing right-hander. You know, and vary it up.
Right.
Different guys that can mix it up. And I think the cookie-cutter pitching staffs that we've developed is because our coaches aren't knowledgeable in coaching correctly. They try to make everybody the same instead of developing the differences in everybody, individual. And, you know, I think that'd make good pitching staff.
Okay, so those are good insights. Let's talk about pitching and hitting. Of all the positions in baseball, you dedicated yourself to pitching. What was the genesis to that, and was there anything that drew you to being a pitcher over a third baseman?
Well, there's no left-handed third baseman out there.
Right.
Hard to say, but I would have been a pitcher, a first baseman, or an outfielder. Those are the only things open for a left-hander. And the fact that I played on clubs that didn't have really good pitching, so I could throw strikes. They made me into a pitcher because I could do it, but I could also hit 300 and play play those positions well. I had great first baseman, and I could play the outfield very well too. So I could have been an all-around ball player, but I pitched because it was hard to get people. There weren't that many great left-handers out there.
Okay.
No one could teach left-handers. No one hired left-handed coaches that much.
Right.
You know, it's usually the game was dominated by right-handed, what I call a northpaw world.
Is your father left-handed?
No, my father's right-handed.
Your grandfather, was he left-handed?
No, he was right-handed.
Oh.
My aunt is left-handed.
Oh.
Annabelle Lee is left-handed, and I kind of mimicked her. And if you ever see pictures of us side by each with our deliveries, they were identical.
Oh.
Our arm slots were the same, our takeaways were the same, our leg kicks were the same.
So you throwing like a woman is now a compliment.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah,
Demystified the...
my aunt threw like a woman, just a little bit harder.
Okay, in the past you mentioned there's a hierarchy and the pitchers are like privates at the bottom.
Yes, they are.
Within pitching, is there a hierarchy of pitchers?
Oh yeah, starters. Your starting pitching is always your elite because they're the guys that get the ball with a regular basis, and those are your top pitchers. And then your closer is elevated to a kind of a godlike status now. In the old days, they had no such thing as closer. You just
Right.
had your number one reliever that came in, and he was usually an older gentleman that had fallen on hard times as a starter, or a specialist started up with Dick Raditz and Joe Page, and then you got into your Gossages, your Sparky Lyles, and then it morphed into the Bruce Sutter, who was a forkball pitcher, basically like Elroy Face. And
What's a forkball look like?
Forkball is off here. It comes out like a fastball, but it tumbles down like a hard sinker.
Oh.
Hard to pick up, hard to elevate, and he's one of the first forkballers to make it to the Hall of Fame.
Oh. Now your teammate Dennis Eckersley had a career as a starter, and he
Yes.
closed it as a closer.
You're right. He has more wins and saves combined than the great Cy Young.
Ooh.
So he's in an elite class. I think he's one of a kind. And he always was. I always thought he was one of a kind.
Okay, in your career in Major League Baseball, what was the best starting rotation that you were a part of? Like, you must have had a zen moment, like, this is as good as it'll ever be, and I feel great.
Wow. I'll tell you, the year we got Fergie Jenkins and me and Tiant, and Wise, I thought that would have been a tremendous, but then I got hurt and Jenkins got hurt, and that was tough. Went on Tiant, and then 78, we had Eckersley, myself, and Tiant, and that was a tremendous three, I thought. Torres was in there too, Mike Torres. He threw very well. That was a good staff, but we weren't any better than any other staff, in that time.
Not than the Angels?
Well, yeah, we were better than the Angels, always. They had Nolan Ryan and Tanana, though,
Oh, true.
and then pray for rain.
Okay, I need to do a little classic and contemporary. I can never pronounce that word. I gotta change that.
Contemporary?
Contemporary.
Contemporary.
But I can change it around. But let's start off with the man making all the news, Curt Schilling.
Yeah, Curt Schilling he's about had it. He's always been a blogger and a techno freak, and always had an opinion and stuff. But he's a Republican, so I knew he would be passé after a while.
Right.
Yeah, but he had some of the great moments in sport, pitching with the bad ankle and having a great 3-0 series last year in the playoffs.
Right.
But I think he's tweaked himself one too many times, and I don't know if he's going to rehab. If he needed surgery, he should have got it earlier.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
So he's done.
He could be done.
Okay, I'm going to pull out a name from the past. Curtis Flood.
Curt Flood,
Yeah.
God rest his soul, He made a basket catch for me in an old-timers game in Florida.
Oh.
And I'll always remember that, and we were always very close friends. And he smoked too much, and eventually got the better of his esophagus and his throat.
I don't want to follow up with the next question, man.
What's that, smoking?
No, if he was the genesis of free agency.
No, he was the one who wanted to be the genesis, but he always signed a contract. He never played out without signing a contract, so he didn't do it properly.
Okay.
And Marvin Miller said, if you're going to become a free agent, you cannot sign the reserve clause, because just by the nature of its language, it's going to reserve you for one more year.
Oh.
So that's what happened, and that's when I think it was McNally and Messerschmidt played for a whole season without a signed contract when they were declared free agents.
Is it true McNally didn't want to play in Montreal?
It was true. He did not want to play in Montreal, but they talked him back, the Players Association, so he would, work this out.
Probably his wife didn't want him here.
Well, no one's wives wanted him in Montreal. They didn't like the parler de français, and the women were too pretty.
The Mitchell Report.
Yeah, he's a fine Red Sox fan and didn't name any Red Sox in the report, so, it sure picked on the Yankees, though.
Yeah, Catfish Hunter.
Catfish Hunter, he was great. He was the Greg Maddux of our era, He was a kid that looked like he was easy to hit, but he had pinpoint control, and he was tough as nails, and played for the great teams of Oakland, and was one of the first free agents to go with the Yankees for a lot of money.
Oh, speaking of Yankees, Derek Jeter.
Derek Jeter, great ball player, nice guy. You could build a team around him, any ball club. Very sincere, clutch hitter, unorthodox. He looks like you could pitch him inside all day long, but he just seems to be able to inside out the ball a lot, and it's hard to get in his kitchen. And if you hang a breaking ball, it's part of la calle. He can hit.
So even though he's a Yankee, he's endearing.
Oh yeah, he's endearing. He's made some great plays, and he's very durable. And the Yankee clubs of that 1998, 1999, you could not unlike them. I mean, Mariano Rivera was a great guy. All of them were really good guys, except when you brought Clemens in and some of the jerks they brought in to pitch for them and stuff.
Oh, wait. This one's a little weird. It's a little strange. There's three people, but the names are the same. Bill Lee, Bill Lee Jr., Bill Spaceman Lee.
Wow. Bill Lee Jr. is my dad.
Okay.
Bill Lee would be my grandfather, and I would be the spaceman. I'm William Francis Lee III. But there was Bill Lee from Packleman, Louisiana, that pitched for the Chicago Cubs.
Related to you?
Big Bill Lee, no. And all these Southerners come up and they go, well, I knew your daddy. And you go, well, my father's from L.A. Oh, your daddy ain't? Big Bill Lee, William Crutchfire Lee from Packleman, Louisiana? I go, no, he did not suck the heads off of crawdads.
And your great-grandfather played in the Pacific Coast League.
Yeah, he played for the Hollywood Stars.
Was that a talented league?
Oh yeah, AAA was good. AAA was just as good as the big leagues.
Okay.
The California players, I mean, there were great ball players that played out here that they'd have to take cut in salary to leave L.A. to play for the Seals, and you had the old, a lot of great ball clubs, the Oakland Oaks, the San Diego Padres. AAA was as good as the big league back in the 40s and 50s.
Ken Griffey and Ken Griffey Jr.
Yes.
So, are they different?
King Griffey and King Griffey Jr., father, son. One of them hit a home run, and then the other one hit a home run in the Major League game back-to-back.
Oh, nice.
And my son, Michael Lee, and I hit back-to-back home runs in Senior League games.
Oh, nice.
So I got that.
And this one, Ozzie Virgil and Ozzie Virgil Jr. The son spells his name with Z's. That's Z to you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Oswaldo Vergil was my coach with the Montreal Expos, and his son played was born in Mayagüez, Puerto Rico, was a good friend of mine, and played for the Toronto Blue Jays and the Atlanta Braves, Philadelphia, and now he's a pilot. But
Not a Seattle pilot.
No, he's a kind of a space cadet pilot where he likes to fire machine guns, 50-gallon machine guns, and has a deuce in his hat, and has pit bulls and other strange aquatic animals that I don't agree with.
Okay, here's another one. Joe Dom and Vinny DiMaggio.
All right. You got Joe DiMaggio and Dominic DiMaggio, who's a good friend of mine and was a little professor for the Red Sox, and then Vince DiMaggio, who was the older brother that was the only one that couldn't hit. And, but they're from San Francisco, and we're sitting right maybe 150 yards from where he was raised, and his father used to go out and fish from right here on this little marina.
Oh, Barry Bonds versus Hank Aaron.
Good combination. I think totally different. One was an inside-out alley hitter, line drive hitter that hit a lot of home runs because he played in Milwaukee, which was a bandbox, and then played in Atlanta, which was a bandbox. And then you had Bonds that played in Pittsburgh and San Francisco, and San Francisco isn't a bandbox. I think Barry Bonds' record is going to be tough to beat unless A-Rod has a perfect element.
Barry Bonds the home run king?
Oh yeah, Barry Bonds the home run king. As far as I'm concerned, he hit more than Babe Ruth and Henry Aaron. So yeah, he is. And performance-enhancing drugs did not help him do that.
No, because if it was power, I'd put a bunch of Scandinavian powerlifters in the lineup.
Yeah, that's true.
The Polynesians.
I tell you, Barry Bonds, what he did was an amazing feat in the parks that he played in.
All right. Okay, here, all nations have enemies, including the Red Sox nation. Here are some of the enemies of the Red Sox nation. You may disagree, but your reaction, Bucky Dent.
Bucky Dent was just a thorn and had the opportunity because Don Zimmer did not pitch me in the last part of the 1978 season. If we win one of those ball games against the Yankees, Bucky Dent would never have come up in a playoff game, and he would not have a middle name.
If he faced you, does he hit a home run?
No. He does not face me. It's a ground ball short double play.
Mookie Wilson.
Mookie Wilson. He's forever with Buckner, hitting the ground ball, the weak ground ball, and then jumping up and down, but you never know what's going to happen in that 76. Very similar to this, or 86 was similar to 75. They lose Game 6, they have a 3-0 lead in Game 7 and lose. I had a 3-0 lead in Game 7 and also lost.
The double play that never was.
Double play never was, the hanging breaking ball to Flores, so. Yeah, Mookie, you got Bucky Dent, Mookie Wilson, Tony Perez, thorns in the Red Sox ass,
Right.
You got, I know one name that's not in there, is Enos Country Slaughter. He's the guy who scored on the single to center field in 46 that beat the Red Sox at 46.
Oh.
So he's in there.
He's in there too. How about Harry Frazee?
Harry Frazee sold the ball club. Actually, he didn't sell it. He sold all the ball players that were worth anything for no-no in the net.
Yeah.
And he was the owner back in the old days.
And it says Babe Ruth threw a 14-inning shutout against the Dodgers. Are those days done?
Wow. That's amazing. Babe Ruth threw a 14-inning shutout.
Yeah. I saw it as one of the greatest Red Sox moments in baseball.
I never knew he played in the National League. The Dodgers he beat?
Could have been a World Series.
Yeah, could have been a World Series.
Could have been a World Series game.
But I don't think so, because he never pitched for the Yankees in the World Series. Only for
But as a Red Sox.
As a Red Sox. But the Dodgers didn't exist back then, I don't think.
Not even as Brooklyn?
I don't think the Brooklyn Dodgers came into existence until the 30s.
Oh, I'll have to double check that.
Yeah.
Stan Pappy.
Stan Pappy, traded for me. Poor Stan Pappy.
Poor guy.
Poor guy, Guy gave him an autographed card to him. So I got an autographed card of Stan Pappy.
The dysfunctional duo of Billy Martin and Reggie Jackson.
Yeah. One was a convicted liar and the other was a convicted felon. No, that was Steinbrenner and Billy Martin.
One likes to give fish to people.
Yeah, that would be Billy Martin. The Italian in him is always wants Luca Brasi to sleep with the fishes.
One-time hero turned Yankee Johnny Damon.
Johnny Damon, you're right. The little Neanderthal. They made caveman commercials about him. Had the big jaw and the nice beard and the long hair, and then had to go to the evil empire, cut his hair and shave his beard off. Ooh. But then his arm fell off, too.
Oh, no. A man who said, I can't win a World Series here, so I'm going elsewhere. Roger Rocky Clemens.
Yeah. Well, the Rocket, what really sets him aside is he moved his whole family out of here because he didn't believe they could get a good education in New England. But that's a Texan for you.
The Big Red Machine, not to be confused with China.
Yeah, that would be the Cincinnati Reds of the 74, 75, 76 era, and they were good. They had a great manager, and they had Pete Rose. When you got Pete Rose, and you got, they were a great hitting ball club. Concepcion, Geronimo, King Griffey Sr., and George Foster, Johnny Bench behind the plate. That's how you build a ball club.
Oh, okay, the last one here, Nomar Garciaparra.
Yeah, he kind of went on the juice a little bit and hurt his attachments and puffed up too much like a big blowfish. And he ended up becoming a walking pulled muscle.
Okay. Well, we only just have a few more because the other one will be for another day. Bill Lee fights to save Fenway Park. Several years ago, Fenway Park appeared to have a date with the demolition law. Now let's talk about who was involved in wanting to destroy Fenway Park and how were you instrumental in saving the ballpark?
That would be the Yankee Trust. Was fundamental in trying to get rid of it because they were buying up all the land around it with a few other gentlemen so that they could have a new ballpark and use the old area as parking space. But a group out of Cambridge came to me and they asked me if I'd be a spokesperson for Save Fenway Park. And we went on and we started getting a lot of money, a lot of support. We ended up getting the mayor of Boston to agree with us. And then they couldn't do it. It was locked up. And then the ownership basically sold out. And John Henry came in and he agreed with us. And they believed in renovating, the ballpark. And now it's one of the most pristine jewels of all time. And I don't think they'll ever tear that down.
Well, if you didn't get involved and Save the Fenway Park Society didn't get involved, would it have been destroyed?
I think so. I'm pretty sure it would have been destroyed, and you wouldn't have Fenway Park, the jewel that it is today, with all the new accoutrements, I believe. Right. The pavilion up top where you can eat, the sky boxes over that, the monster seats over the green monster. There's going to be a lot of different things brought in there. And they can use that park for a lot of different concerts. They had Jimmy Buffett. They had a lot of great events, and I believe they'll continue to use it and make a lot of money with it.
How much money was involved in wiping out the park?
Good question. I don't know how much was going to be made, but a lot of money with the land grab all around it. And I'm glad that they didn't do it. That's for sure.
Oh, nice. All right, now because of your efforts to help save the ballpark, did that help you become endeared to John Henry?
No, I don't. I think John Henry knows. I think John Henry liked me in the senior league. He was the owner of the West Palm Beach Tropics. Dick Williams was his manager. And I believe he knew my love of the game, and I think he really likes me a lot because he knows my heart and my brain are in the right place. And they're kind of a lot like him. I'm a commodities expert, but I don't dabble in the market the way he does. I just have a nose for the way our society is going. And he used that formula to make millions of dollars, but I think he's been benevolent with it, billions of dollars. And I think by saving Fenway Park, he endeared himself to the real true traditionalists of baseball, and that was his biggest contribution, along with the money spent for the 2 World Series.
So with this new ownership, your relationship to the organization is better than ever?
Oh, most definitely. I think they recognized my love of the game and the fact that the fans like me and that I'm a good teacher and I'm a good, I'm a great asset to the organization as far as pushing baseball and, being consistent with the kids and with the elder gentlemen that want to go to the fantasy camps. And with the radio show that I do on WROR, the Lauren and Wally Show, which is at 7:45 every Monday morning, and then I do the Mitch Milnick shows with the Expos. These are knowledgeable fans that listen to the radio and they appreciate what I have to say. And I'll never steer them wrong. I'll always tell them the truth and they appreciate it.
I like your secret, because for anyone who had the right to hate either the Expos or the Red Sox, it would be you. But you've gone on record to say that you love them.
Yeah, I don't fault, you can't fault the fans for what an organization does to you, and
Right.
you can't disown it just because it may have been economically bad for you at a certain time. It'll come back to you tenfold by being consistent and loyal to an organization and to a region. And I never left for more money anywhere else. I always stayed with the Red Sox, and when they dealt me to the Expos, I always stayed with the Expos. And I was never a fair weather friend.
Right.
And I always was consistent. I stayed in Longueuil, and then that league folded, and I went to Moncton. You know, and I never left Moncton. They got rid of me, and I went to Sydney, Nova Scotia, and that league folded, and I had to do something. So then I ended up playing on my own teams
Right.
and continuing to try to eclipse Satchel Paige's record, and that has become kind of a big thing now with a lot of fans, but I would never disparage, you know, never be as good as Satchel Paige. I may have longevity more than him, and that would be kind of a record, but there will only be one Satchel Paige, and I'm pretty sure there's only going to be one of me.
That's good. That's good. Break the mold. Okay, so people make documentaries of you. There's been two in the last 12
there's
months.
actually been three, but yeah, there was Gift of the Game, there was Spaceman, a Baseball Odyssey about Cuba, and then there's High and Outside. And there's more people that are coming out there. I'm going to go pitch in this year in the Midnight Sun game, in the 103rd anniversary of the Midnight Sun game, which I pitched in 1964.
What's the Midnight Sun game?
Midnight Sun game is the Fairbanks, Alaska Gold Panners, and that is played at midnight in Fairbanks, Alaska, on the field that I used to play on back in the 60s.
That's going to be exciting.
It's exciting. I'm going to have all my sons and grandsons on the field with me, and my aunt and my dad, and my whole family.
That's good. Congratulations.
Yeah, that's going to be a good event. And then hopefully I want to take an Expo team and travel. I'm looking for a sponsor to bring on the Expos and for minor baseball and play hardball games against all the junior teams across Canada. And I think that would be an excellent way to promote the Expos and to make sure that our memory lives on across Canada, because we were Canada's first professional team.
Knows some more.
They know some more.
Okay, let's talk about High and Outside. How does this documentary differ from others?
This one was done by two gentlemen that wanted to show the difference in my personality, on how I am kind of like Yossarian in Catch-22, and how I'm kind of like the lunatic in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, McMurphy.
Do you view yourself as a lunatic?
No, I view myself that I do not like the way I stick up for the average man. You know, I've always thought I was stuck up for the common clay, and was never didn't have an elitist bone in my body. And I think that shows through in the movie, and my love of the game, and the fact that I had a pretty good sense of humor, a la, you know, Samuel Clemens in a way, you know, and I've always liked to think I was a little bit like him, and to poke fun at myself and society at the same time.
How did this documentary get off the ground? Did they just call you out of the blue?
Call me out of the blue. Everybody, yeah, they want to do it. If you got the time and the money to put me up in very nice 4-star hotels and feed me copious amounts of wine and fine food, I will do a documentary almost all over the world.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's
I
cool.
come cheap. I don't come cheap. Yeah, you do.
You do.
Yeah, you got copious amounts.
All right, but this is a couple more. The website highandoutside.com has the article, The Rebel Hero in Baseball,
Oh
Bill
yeah.
The Spaceman Lee.
That was one of the great in popular culture, 1987, which is one of the great articles ever written about me. I think it's the best article ever written about me, and the one that had me, you know, just cold, I think.
Okay. In the article, and I've read it, but I pulled this out because it caught my eye right away. The best way to summarize control for a pitcher is the Tibetan monk can be the best control pitcher in baseball.
Right.
Because they can go outside in the freezing cold naked and throw. What are some of the...
Well, I said they could sit there and they could materialize. The ball would go from their hand to the catcher's glove, and they wouldn't even have to let it go.
Nice.
And I said, now that's what I call control pitch.
I'm not a Tibetan monk, but what can I do to become a control pitcher?
Work on your breathing, work on your flexibility. I believe that you've got to throw a lot, but you also have to incorporate a Zen mechanism between your eye and your fingertip.
Okay.
That what you see with your eye, your fingertips will put it right there.
Yeah, Paul, do you breathe through your mouth or your nose?
Yeah, through your eyelids. That's Bull Durham.
That's right.
Lance LaRue told him, put on women's hose and breathe through your eyelids, kid. You know?
You know the filmmaker of Bull Durham.
Well, yeah. Ron Sheldon said that's why when he introduced me to the Reliquary Hall of Fame, he introduced me and said that he'd been stealing my lines for eternity for all of his screenplays.
Oh. Did he at least give you a copy of the DVD?
No, you see it. You don't need a copy. You can turn it on any Thursday on TBS, and you'll see either Field of Dreams or you'll see Bull Durham.
Okay. Here's an article though, with a quote from 1979. I want to know if this is still true. Someday soon, I'm just going to disappear. No one will ever see me again. Is that still the motivation?
Yeah, I said I was gonna disappear on some ranch in Canada, thinking as that thing goes. Eventually I will.
Oh.
I will just disappear into a small valley outside of the Columbia River Valley, overlooking the panorama and probably Fairmont Hot Springs. My goal in life is to buy a hot springs called Dewar's Hot Springs, named after the Scot, and open up a rehabilitation center for old pitchers and downhill skiers.
Nice. Do you still have the dream to make pizzas and wooden stools in BC?
Yeah, I'm still doing that. I've made wooden bowls in California, and I've been doing it. And I can do chainsaw sculptures. I can do a lot of different things. I can build. I can paint. I'm pretty independent cusp.
Okay. In the same article, your teammate Carlton Fisk alluded to the fact that the Red Sox management may have worked against you by bringing you up too soon just so you could fail and they could cut you. Do you believe that was true? And if so, who do you think was involved in trying to show you up?
Well, anything that Carlton Fisk has to be held with a grain of salt because he's a catcher.
Oh.
He wore the tools of ignorance. No, I didn't get brought up too soon. I was qualified to pitch in the big leagues from the day I walked off the USC campus.
Okay.
I did not have to pitch in the minor league.
Okay.
And what I did in the minor leagues had nothing to do with getting me to the big leagues, other than to prove that they were wrong for putting me in the minor leagues in the first place.
Okay. So there wasn't like a cloak and dagger conspiracy group of people trying to hold you down?
No.
You have to be a little nuts to be a catcher.
Yeah, I think you become a catcher because they have to hide you back there to protect you and stuff. And Gary Carter, every time they put him in the outfield, he'd run into a wall. So they decided to put a lot of protective equipment on him and leave him behind the plate.
Oh. Now, since you got it, you had a degree going into the system of Major League Baseball. Did your education hurt you among your teammates?
Not among my teammates. I was elected player rep and a position that I held in high esteem. But it hurt me as far as with management probably because they don't want you to speak out. And they said we were biting the hand that fed us by joining the union.
Oh.
And, all it did was bring us from an average salary of $19,000 to $342,000 a year.
Okay. Because of you're running short on time, we'll summarize the last part, and then we'll go with the other parts another day. I'd like to know the pro player and the media. The media has a habit of building people up and then bringing them down.
Yeah, they always look for the fair-haired kid, and then if he gets too big for his britches, then they want to be instrumental in his demise. But, they didn't bring down Cal Ripken. You know,
Right.
because Cal Ripken was an honest and great gentleman. They didn't bring down Brooks Robinson because he was. But every hero that gets a little big in his britches, a la Bonds and Clements, and they like to see that happen because
Right.
there's a fatal flaw in them, which is greed, and I think that'll always bring down the what I consider the guy that's got that fatal flaw.
Will there ever be a scenario where the media is biased for the owners versus the players?
No,
No?
it'll never be, because the owners will always shoot themselves in the foot by being greedier than any player.
Okay.
A player is a worker, where an owner is an owner.
The New England sports writers in the 70s were
Pro management, because they got free steaks and free flights.
Oh,
It's hard to bet against a guy that gives you a 14-ounce fine hand cut, sirloin steak.
so they would write disparaging stuff about the players.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I'll go with a couple last ones here.
You remind me of my father. He always says, "Give me 15 more minutes in
No.
bed."
Okay, here's the last one. Today's modern media, with the 24-hour news cycle on the internet, is there such a need to deliver timely information and the pressures involved where people just shoot out headlines before they get the facts?
Almost definitely. You have a lot of people competing for that little micro minute that can bring out the dirt on somebody, and it's so many people and so many outlets, But it's hard to entrap people like me because I'm such a double talker, that I can circumnavigate, as Ferdinand Magellan did, he can circumnavigate the planet.
Perfect. Peace. All right, thank you.